ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Channel 23 and the Faces of Carlsbad. As you know, these programs are brought to you so that you'll get to know the people in the community that you might know, that you've met before. And we're sponsored by Intrepid Potash, and we are really thankful that they have faith in us, as does Jim Harrison, who invited us into this beautiful Carlsbad Foundation building. We don't want to speak too loudly because he's sleeping right now. But anyway, I would like you to meet a very nice gentleman that I just met for the first time officially. I've met him before, Mr. Richard Lopez. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, I'm pleased to find out that you are now the new fire chief in Carlsbad, correct?
Yes, sir.
But let's go back in the early days about your grandparents, where they came from, where your parents were born, and where you were born. And get a little background on Richard Lopez.
On my mother's side, my grandparents, Zacarias and Francisca de Porto, raised here in Carlsbad, as my mother was. My father, his mother's Lupe Baisa. My father's David Lopez. Raised here in Carlsbad also. And that's parents went to school together, obviously. And, matter of fact, I believe in the 4th grade, my father told my mother that they were going to get married.
Wait a minute. Your father in the 4th grade told your mother?
She was going to be his wife, and she didn't like him. and through the years of school, middle school, high school, and eventually they started dating, and they did.
She decided he wasn't so bad after, right?
Yes, so I decided he wasn't so bad after all. So they were married. Me and I have an older brother, 4 years older than me, David Lopez Jr. And me and him obviously both born and raised here in Carlsbad.
Now, what does David do?
He works at, I believe it's Mosaic, I think is what they call it now. It used to be IMC. He works at Mosaic on surface.
We'll try to get him to work at Intrepid Potash.
Yes. And so he works there, and my father is working at WHIP as a maintenance planner.
Oh, I see.
Right now, he'll probably retire here soon.
A maintenance planner. What does that entail? That sounds.
I guess with the WHIP, with federal work, they have a lot of paperwork that's required before they work on equipment. So
I see.
The maintenance work that's done, he has to have all the plans set out and how they tackle the problem, which parts are going to use, just handle the planning and the paperwork part of the maintenance.
Well, that sounds like a complicated job.
Yeah, it keeps him busy. Yes,
yeah. But you think he's going to retire in a couple of years?
Oh, he's been talking about it. It's close to time that he's ready to retire.
Yeah. Now, you were involved in the fire department here in Carlsbad for how many years now?
I hired on February 3rd of 2003, so it's been 10 years.
10 years.
Yes, sir.
What drew you to the fire department? I mean, that's not an easy job.
Honestly, it was a stable job is what drew me to it first. The thought of. Out of high school, I went to work at the potash mines. I worked at Western Ag for 9 years.
Yeah.
I honestly was planning on retiring there. I wanted to work my way up through the ranks and retire at Western Ag. IMC bought us at the time and closed down that refinery, and I chose to continue with my education. I was going part-time to school for my associate's degree. Finished my associate's degree and then started towards my bachelor's. Went to work for Mississippi Potash, which is Intrepid now, I believe. I worked there 3 years, and I just wasn't moving up fast enough in my mind.
Yeah.
And I was working 12-hour shifts. Both my sons were playing baseball, and I missed a lot of practices, missed a lot of games, and it just really wasn't, I wasn't content with my work. When Western Ag closed down, I had considered my other options: Border Patrol, Police Department, Fire Department. Working at the potash mines, your choices are limited. You either work for the other mine or you go to Nevada or Colorado or something. And I really didn't want to up and move. I was happy with Carlsbad, still am. And I just felt that, I had to find something locally. Somebody had mentioned the fire department, the type of work they do, and sounded interesting, and kind of thought about it a little while. Got my EMT license. At the time, you had to be EMT intermediate just to even apply for the job. So I went ahead and took care of that, but I didn't move forward with it. That's when I got the job at Mississippi Potash. Worked there about 3 years, and just finally, in that shift work, the 12-hour shifts, I just really wasn't content with it. I was missing a lot of family time, and so I decided to make the jump. And 2 years prior to that, I started volunteer at a volunteer fire department, Happy Valley, close to where I live.
Oh, Happy Valley, yeah, right.
And so I did it for a couple of years, and I actually fell in love with the work. I mean, it was just so interesting, and the adrenaline rush you get going in fires and whatnot. It was, I was just amazed and just fell in love with the work. And so then when I finally hired on, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. At the time, the pay was quite low compared to the mines. Obviously, with the state retirement, everything coming out for retirement, insurances, all those things, you know, the pay's just not. I had to have a couple of extra jobs on the side, and in the meantime, which is, you know, a lot of us did that as firefighters until we promote and put a little time in and get the wages and get the spending to fit with that. Yeah. So, but to be honest with you, once I got into it and got my Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 certification, did some more EMS and you know, just did the job, I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
EMS and EMT, is that emergency medical service? And
EMT is emergency medical technician. There's 3 levels on the technician. There's the basic level, the intermediate level, and the paramedic level. Intermediate's what's required with the Carlsbad Fire Department to maintain your job there.
Oh, I see.
That's the minimum requirement. So that's.
How do you get
it's 1 semester for the basic EMT license, another semester for the intermediate. Then if you choose to go into paramedic, that is about an 18-month program to do that. And NMSU here in Carlsbad, they do a basic and intermediate class.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, they didn't. I had to go to Roswell. It's there's not enough people signing up for it as they are in Roswell. Roswell's program's been around for a long time, and it's a very successful program.
Well, being a fireman, it's like wanting to be a police officer. It's in you, and you can't shake it.
Right. And unfortunately, I didn't have that as a little kid to be. That was my ideal dream job. As I got older, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to be an accountant.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm good with numbers, and I'm comfortable with them, and you know, and it fits. But again, when I started as a volunteer firefighter, and then when I decided to make the change and did it full time, I fell in love with it. I just couldn't see myself doing nothing else. It was the job itself is just rewarding and just the everyday, you know, what we get to do. There's a downside, obviously.
Well, yeah, there is a downside when you have to go to a home that's destroyed.
Yes.
Or even worse.
Yes, when there's someone that's passed away.
Yeah.
Car accidents, EMS calls. I mean, those are hard to deal with. And after, you know, the good thing is we have the 20-year retirement, and 20 years of that stuff usually for most people is enough. We're forced to see what most people shouldn't have to, at least maybe once in a lifetime, not on a daily basis. But it's part of the job. But at the end of the day, it's when you can help, when you can stop the destruction, when you can save a life, it's worth it. It's worth it in the long run. I mean,
I'm going to get back in a moment to your family, but you're now the new fire chief.
Yes, sir.
That's a big honor.
Yes, sir. I think it finally sunk in. It was, you know, just working, just doing what I thought was necessary. I was the vice president of the union for a couple of contracts, and so I've always been involved in trying to make things better. The way I look at it is, if you have a complaint, you have, in my opinion, you have a couple of choices. You either keep your mouth shut or you do something about it.
Yeah.
So I've always been the type that, you know, if there's a problem, let's try to fix it. There's always a fix, you know. Sometimes you may not be able to fix the problem itself, but at least you can address the situation and make things better for the most part. But get involved and get things fixed. And so About 5 years ago, Chief Reynolds was obviously looking forward to retirement. And the time, is coming, and for a director for the city, which is what the fire chief's position is, the requirement's a bachelor's degree. So there's only a few of us that had bachelor's degrees in the department. So he asked around, and he to see who would be willing, who would be interested. And about 5 years ago, I started making my decision to push forward for the fire chief's job. 2 years ago, the assistant chief's position came available. I applied for it, and I was at a win-win situation, because if I didn't get it, I still enjoyed what I was doing. I still enjoyed being on shift. I still enjoyed, I was, again, vice president of the union. I was involved, helping make changes, and if I did get it, well, then I'd be obviously more involved. I'd be responsible for the changes and making changes or seeing that things were getting done. So I was at a win-win. So when I got the assistant chief's position, obviously in view, I wanted the chief's position when the time came, and preparation for it. And so I was awarded that position, and I was very happy with that. And I believe my men were also. And then now stepping into the chief's position, just keep moving forward.
Now, how many shifts do you have?
We have 3 shifts.
3 shifts?
They work a 48 hours on and 4 on, 2 on, 4 off. That's what they work. So work 2 days straight, then they're off 4 days.
Oh, I see. And you've got, what, 48 some?
48 total.
Yeah.
So.
And the morale is pretty high from what I can gather.
Yeah, we've had our ups and downs like every department would, I guess. But it's I would say it's pretty high now. And we hired on, we were able to get 3 new positions filled last December. So we hired 3 more firefighters, and I think the morale is pretty high.
Now, I want to go back a little bit. Now, you're married.
Yes.
With how many children?
I'm married with 2 boys.
2 boys. Now, how old are your boys?
I have one that's 22 and one that's 18.
Now, when you were in the 4th grade, like your father.
No.
You did.
I didn't pick my wife out at that time.
Oh,
No.
you did not?
No,
well, your dad did, but he...
Yeah, no, I couldn't follow that.
Okay.
That's a hard act to follow there. No, actually, my oldest son was born my senior year of high school. And actually, I have 2 granddaughters now. So,
that's
so
nice.
I have a granddaughter that's 3 and one that's 1 year old.
Aren't those granddaughters something?
Yeah. It's, I always heard that, skip children and go straight to grandkids are more fun, and it's almost true, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you can spoil them and send them home.
That's right. You don't have to live with them.
You don't have to discipline them like a parent would have to.
You can say, "Oh, it's so good to see you." After a couple of hours of noise and screaming, and it's nice seeing you. See you again next week, dear.
Yeah, I don't know if we get enough of them yet, but it's they're fun.
Now, getting back to the fire department itself, you have you're the top man, and what do you have underneath you as the next? The
next one underneath me is the assistant fire chief.
The assistant fire chief.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's Brian Mendoza, and then laterally, in a sense, underneath Brian, would be I have an EMS division chief, which is Mike Ristam. I have a fire marshal, Bill Rook. Most of you've probably met him.
Yeah, Bill Rook, yes.
And then I have the training officer, which is Ken Arns. So obviously the EMS chief handles EMS stuff. The fire marshal handles inspection, training, outfit training.
And the 3 different squads, is there a leader of each one of those?
Yes, I have a battalion chief on each shift, which is in charge of the shift. He also works the 4896 schedule, works 2 off. The rest of it, the rest of administrations works the 40-hour work week, in theory.
Yes, right.
The battalion chief does work the shift as his crew does. Underneath each one, underneath him, I have a lieutenant at every station. We have 4 stations that we respond out of.
Well, the one is on the South Highway.
Yeah, that's Station 4 across from Happy's.
Pierce Street.
One's on Pierce by Food Jet. That's Station 3, and then
one is the main one down
one
here.
main
Where's
one.
the 4th one?
The second Station 2, which is by the high school, Church and 8th.
Oh yes, okay, gotcha.
Now we do have a station, what we call Station 6, which is at the airport, and I have one guy there, and he's monitoring the flights coming in or whatever. He's ready to respond for flight emergencies.
I see. Well, it seems very, very interesting, and you're looking at these hours that you put in.
Yes.
And these gentlemen who are working down here on these 48 hours that they're on,
yes, sir.
do they sleep They're
They try to.
yeah.
Yes, they're allowed. They have busy work during the day, checking the trucks, checking the ambulance, making sure all the equipment's there,
Yeah.
paperwork, all our normal stuff, plus our call volume. Our call volume's increasing every day. We actually run, I think we're up to 4,500 EMS calls in a year.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's a lot. So
Gee,
yes, they everybody has their own sleeping habits. So they usually turn in around 9 or 10 o'clock at night and hopefully get a whole night's sleep. Sometimes they don't. If they're up all night, though, we since they're working 2 days in a row, then we let them sleep in if we can and move our training to the afternoon. We try to adjust to. If they're tired, then injuries go up. We just gotta make sure they're rested the best we can. It's not always possible.
Who prepares the food for them?
They each takes care of their own.
Oh, they do.
So some crews, there's a few guys that like to cook, so they'll cook for their station. It's not like you see on TV. We don't have the staffing to where we can leave someone there that's in charge of cooking for the whole battalion. There's just no way. We don't.
Yeah.
If we can help it, we try not to bring everybody down to one location, because try to leave them in their district.
Yeah.
So they'll run to a restaurant and grab something to go, or they'll cook at the station. It just varies amongst the men.
And you have excellent radio support between the different stations?
Yeah, we have a radio system that runs through the dispatch center at the police department,
Yeah.
and they dispatch us out, and we communicate through them, same way the police department does.
Yeah.
And then the central dispatch, the fire dispatch in Artesia, that handles the county area that we cover. So we're dispatched through them also.
Oh, through the county. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Because
Okay.
we respond into the county also.
Mhm.
We are the primary transport when it comes to EMS calls
Ah,
for
yes.
Southeast Eddy County. We run to the Lee County line, Seven Rivers, Queen area, all the way to the Texas line to El Paso and Pecos. And actually we go into Texas a little bit. We're actually still closer to than the next ambulance.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, my
we
gosh.
have a big coverage area.
Now, is the ambulance service part of the fire department
Yes,
also?
we are a dual role department, which we do fire and EMS both.
Oh, I
And we
see.
actually transport. We actually take the patient to the hospital, handle all that paperwork. So
Well, all I can say, Richard, is that we're very proud that you're the new fire chief.
thank you.
We're proud of Mike. He did an excellent job, and I know you're going to do an outstanding job. I can just
Thank you.
tell by talking to you that. How is it okay if Mr. Lutman and I apply for a job for the fire department? Would
If you can pass the physical test, yes.
the physical test?
The combat challenge, I know we bring that down once a year.
Okay.
We help support that coming down. And anyways, that challenge that they do there is one of the requirements that you have to pass to apply.
Oh, okay.
So
We could do that.
if you can do that, then yes, sir.
Richard, I want to thank you so much. I keep calling you Mike, but Mike's out now.
Yes, sir.
Richard, it's a pleasure having you here today on the Faces of
I
Carlsbad.
want to thank you. Appreciate it.
And on behalf of Channel 23, to all of our wonderful viewers, goodbye and good luck. Well, Rich.